So you've made your vessel and such, and you want to print it. All right. Now, with this vessel, because it's more complex, especially with all of these holes and such, whether or not you made the thing with holes or not, it's up to you. That's fine. If you didn't, if it's more of a solid one, that's fine too. That one doesn't have the feet. That's not a completed one. But let's just use this one just to illustrate the complexity that can happen. This will not print without support. That's not a problem. It's fine. Just know that it won't work without them, and you're gonna need to tweak those. So let's go ahead and get this stuff prepped for printing. So one thing is definitely label your stuff. Just it makes things easier. Don't just leave it as body 500, whatever. It just helps. Now you do want it when you do this. You do want to actually select the actual body, not the entire component, because like this one, I have multiple bodies. Some are hidden right now. If I select the entire component, it's going to try to fuse all those together and just cause problems. Only select the body you intend to print. Go to File, go to 3D Print, deselect the print utility. As is fine. Great. Yep. Keeps doing that. And the whole thing, these are different components. We are exporting these as different things. See, I forgot to label this. So let's say your rippy tray. There we go. So labeled, great. Select the body, File, 3D Print. Okay. Save. Okay. Now let's swap over to the slicer. So we got PRUSA slicer open. There we are. So let's drag and drop these components. Now, you may or may not be able to drop both of these at the same. Let's see how large this is. Dropping in, dropping in. Now, right now, you cannot print this like this. Hit the auto range. All right. So they both fit on the plate or tray. Great. You may or may not be able to print these both at the same time. Depending on how consistent your printer is printing on the bed. I have found sometimes when you have larger flat objects like this, it's best to split these up into two separate prints entirely, because if one's printing great and the other one starts to lift, now you've ruined both objects, or not ruined, but that now both have failed. So if you are printing individually, yeah, you got to come back and reset the printer, peel off, start it again, but at least you finished one print. All right, so the tray, that's going to work pretty well, except for that text. The planter, however, that's going to be weird. So we haven't messed this yet. You need supports. If you try to print this, and I'll show you, go to Slice now, just as is. It's going to show you you're going to get warnings, print detected stability issue. You're going to have all kinds of overhang issues. The ones in blue, that's your issues. Overhangs are things that it's a curved surface maybe or whatever, but it exceeds the safety perimeter, just meaning that it exceeds how far up those lines can work. Because up to a point, it's kind of just printing, just printing in space. It just needs a little support. And we all need a little help. So go back. You go from the stacked symbol in the bottom left-hand corner, back to the solid cube, solid objects. There we are. To supports. First, let's try from build plate only. Select there, hit slice now. From build plate only, it's only going to create supports from the base up. Okay, cool. That's actually less terrible than I was expecting. It has created supports all the way up on these holes here, as well as down here on this tray, and helping to support the text. Now, you can find ways of minimizing this by either adjusting the profile. So let me kind of go forward here. If I made the profile of this bowl a little less shallow, little less of that shallow sweep, made it a little bit more straight up and down, or just a little bit of a sharper curve, you won't need supports as much. Same thing with the vessel. The vessel's not too bad, actually. That actually works pretty well. If I didn't have these holes here, it probably wouldn't need supports except for on the bottom. Bottom, obviously, because go down as I slice it down, zoom in here, you can see, yeah, I got the bottom of the tray, or sorry, the bottom of the vessel, and I get to a point to where it's just the supports because it only makes contact that little dot there at the bottom. So obviously that means that if you adjust your vessel as well to be more of a consistent flat bottom or something like that, you won't really need as many supports. But honestly, that's not bad at all. However, do have a look at the print time. That is 11 hours, 12 minutes. That doesn't mean you're wasting 11 hours worth of material or anything. These supports are actually very thin. It's not using a lot of material. What it is, it just takes that long to make all of those little loops and such. Now let's try, we talked about before, let's adjust the infill. I doubt this is going to make much of a difference. Let's go to grid, let's go to gyroid. Great. Also, let's drop the infill down to like 10%. So we did two things, see if we can adjust that. Reslice. Calculating. All right, that actually shaved nearly an hour off. Now it's down to 10 hours, 29 minutes. So you can make some minor adjustments and it will print and it'll take less time. You can actually adjust the density of these supports here. I don't expect you to do this, but just to note that it is an option. So I can go down to support material under print settings. You can adjust the threshold, which is just detecting how high of a curvature it needs to automatically apply supports. Let's see here. Let's mess with the pattern spacing. So it creates rectilinear, which means kind of cube-like back and forth, not quite a straight zigzag, goes up, over, down, over, up, over, down, over. You get the idea. I can mess with the spacing. Let's make that 5 millimeters between instead of 2. Slice again. Thinkifying. All right, it shaved 30 minutes off. So that part, not that big a deal. Actually, not even 30. It's like 23 minutes. So you can make some adjustments that will help if that kind of time is an issue. The other thing is, like I said, with objects like this, these printers are pretty well run in. They're pretty well dialed in. One is having some issue I'm trying to solve. But with something like this, I would highly recommend make these separate. So make these separate files. So delete one of these. I can center it if you want. Make just the vessel 1 print. All right, that's 7 hours 8 minutes, or 7 hours 9 minutes. So a little over 7 hours. Do the same with the tray. Just print them separately. It'll be more efficient, meaning that way, at least if the print fails, you don't lose both objects. So, and with something like this, all right, it's going to take 7 hours. The vessel, all right, print that overnight. The tray probably will take less. Let me delete that. Drag and drop the drip tray back in. Same settings, no change. Just under 3 hours. Okay. Print the tray, go grab lunch or hop to another class, come back, swap out, get the vessel printing overnight, you're all set. So just a couple of different ways you can play with the settings to if time is a major factor, there you go. Also, playing with the pattern spacing can tweak how much material you're using. Honestly, like I said, printing supports, it extrudes such a thin amount that it's not like you're wasting piles of material. If you have piles of supports, I mean, it is waste, but we're going to try and collect those and eventually recycle. But for now, yeah, that's pretty much the way you're going to be able to print your parts. Remember, do not print them stacked. They do need to be separate. Let's reslice again just to show you. No change. I didn't make any changes. You can dial down the support or the infill. We can try that one less, 5% infill. Because at this wall thickness, I don't know if that'll make much of a difference. Okay, that got it down under 10 hours. So at that wall thickness, it's not like it's going to become suddenly super weak. It's mostly hollow, but it's mostly hollow anyway. So you can play with those settings. You can try to drop the time down a little bit. But ultimately, especially if you're printing overnight, doesn't matter. And as long as you stay behind and watch it print at least that first layer, you're usually good after that. That first layer is the most important part. Past that, yeah, you need supports with something like this, more complex, these overhangs, these hollow spaces. Sometimes you can get away with no supports. This one definitely needs them. All right. And that's pretty much where we're at. So good luck with it. Ask if you need help.